So it's not just listening to the family needs and attending to them, that's maintenance, but it's actually upgrading the whole organism so that the needs become more refined and matured. Right? We're rearing our children. Now, part of that is mitigating, weeding out within the system, particularly in the heart sphere, the sense of inadequacy. That's a root cause of heart suffering, inadequacy. The 7-year-old self-critic that feels like I'm not enough. And you'll notice how she is so active. She doesn't even have her driver's permit yet, but she thinks she can drive the vehicle. Like, it happens through all the stages of life. I need this to feel sufficient and adequate. I need the right job. I need the perfect partner to validate. I need affirmation. I need words of affirmation. I need to feel respected daily. I need more money. I need more happiness. These are what in Buddhism is called the 8 mundane concerns. Like, we all think we need more money, more happiness, the perfect partner, the perfect job, more love and adoration, right? Fame and respect. It's a universal desire. And as I said yesterday, there's nothing wrong with having those preferences. Needing something in and of itself is okay. Like, the parts are gonna have needs, and we'll never eradicate the 7-year-old. She's a part of us, and we're grateful that she's here. But the issue is if the sense of inadequacy remains unless you get that thing met. So it's like the reaching out to externalities to feel fulfilled rather than inherent mood nature. That's avidya dukkha. If you're dependent on the status of external structures to validate the richness of your own awakening, then you're ignorant to the inherent resource that's already contained here within you. So that no matter what happens, there's not a sense of collapse when you lose that partner or the job. So that brings us to the third noble truth, which is the fact that suffering can heal, not based on a state of those parts being met perfectly, but by just realizing the awake nature of self and noticing the beauty of presence whenever you are present. So what does it feel like in your life when you're actually attuned? Because when you recognize and pinpoint it, you start to harness it more. It's easier to return to that space. So I have a quote here. The consciousness of every sentient being bears limitless potential for compassion, insight, and power. The whole of life, and explicitly the whole of spiritual practice, is simply designed to bring forth that potential. And that's what it means to be a Buddha. The understanding that spacious awake nature is always accessible, and the inner resource is rich enough to supply all of your needs. And it starts to cast a very different light on kind of the laundry list of all of your cravings and aversions. Because the things that you think you desperately need, that just starts to thin. All of it. Your occupation, the people you want to spend time with. It's not that they're devalued or abandoned. You'll always have preferences. The Dalai Lama talks about his cravings and aversions, kind of to highlight prefer this way. But if this happens instead, my sense of self isn't going to collapse. Because you experience for yourself through the practice, the cultivation, the only place where really the wellspring of wholeness exists. And that's irrespective of the structures outside of Hara. So I have a note. A sense of freedom ensues from the wisdom that your well-being is not utterly, inextricably dependent upon things that are not in your control. That's a rather useful insight. So that's where shamatha practice comes in. That's the routine ritual of carving the neural pathways to lead back to central wholeness. Because through simplicity of breath awareness practice, we're kind of just hand-holding all of the parts of the self back home to Hara, showing them the way back to Hara, to this baseline of serenity, where the state of stability that you're harnessing is independent of whatever's happening around you. And that's why you continuously return to breath practice. And I said this yesterday, that Buddhism is like a science. You are probed to not just believe the Dharma, but just to cultivate within you the practices that speak most truly. So we'll practice shamatha, and you in your own routine can observe through experimentation how this actually cultivates in your own mindscape the proper ample resources to return home. So we'll practice shamatha.